Hi, I'm Aaron Blake, and here we are with another issue of 5 Questions. Our guest today is Congressman Tom Cole, former chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee, which is in charge of all the House campaigns. Congressman, tell us a little bit about what you're up to this week at the convention.
Well, first of all, enjoying it. This is my 10th. I've been at every one of them since '76, so it's like a political family reunion. But there's also, pretty serious work here. Jana Ryan is actually from my district. The family's close, so I'll spent some time with them, and obviously very excited about Paul's speech tonight, serve on his committee. And then trying to help the Romney people with outreach into Indian country with Native American tribes. Just finished a roundtable with there's quite a few tribes represented here that have either come or who have members as delegates to talk about what the governor's vision is for Indian country and what his positions on a variety of issues would be.
I know you said you got in yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
How much of the program did you see yesterday, and from what you saw, what surprised you the most, or what pleased you the most?
Well, I think I saw it all. Ann Romney pleased me the most. Honestly, you never know how somebody's going to perform on a stage like that when they don't have a track record at doing it. And I thought she was incredibly poised, graceful, compelling. So that was a good speech. I think there were a couple of sizzlers in there. Artur Davis, who's a former colleague of mine, that was a big speech. I mean, that was a tough speech, I'm sure, for him to deliver. He sort of crossed the political Rubicon in doing that, and I was very impressed with it. And I hope there's a place that he finds that he's comfortable with inside the Republican tent going forward. Mia Love was terrific. I've met her privately, and again, that's a potentially historic candidacy. Be the first African-American woman Republican to win a House seat. But honestly, I think up and down, most speakers did well. Santorum certainly did very well yesterday. He usually does, honestly. So I think it was a good opening night, but I really think the next two are the most important. Obviously, we need a good night tonight from Congressman Ryan, and we need a great night from Governor Romney on Thursday.
What's the most important thing that you want to see Congressman Ryan say in his speech tonight? What does the party need him to say?
Well, I think he's already said it and done it in a sense. I mean, I think Paul's selection really elevated the campaign. Look, it got it off of things like tax returns and Bain Capital and which candidate sings the best and who founded my business, onto really a substantive discussion about the structural deficit that we face, the entitlement issues in front of us, and what are the appropriate tax and economic policies to do what we all want to do, stimulate growth and create jobs. So, I think he's a game changer simply because more than most members of Congress, frankly more than every member of Congress, he's thought about these issues and had the courage to put them down on paper and test them in the arena. And it, deeply important that these issues be discussed, even if you don't agree with the Ryan solutions, they're real solutions. The other thing I'd say about Paul that he does is he opens up a generational gap in our favor for a change. I really think he will discuss these issues, Medicare, Medicaid in particular, from the point of view of people in their 20s and 30s who are paying the bills and not likely to get many of the benefits that they're paying for. That's been missing in the debate. The president's largely been absent on Medicare, Medicaid, long-term structural deficit. Appointed a deficit commission, then didn't embrace its conclusion. So I like the idea that Governor Romney has got a plan. It's essentially the Ryan plan, and is willing to go, fight the election on that. The president so far hasn't told us what he wants to do the next 4 years, and certainly nobody's very happy with the last 4. We can debate what could have gone different or whose fault it was, but the reality is the country feels it's moving in the wrong direction. I think it's incumbent upon each candidate to present some sort of vision and plan. I think the Romney team has done that. Honestly, I don't think the president has.
You mentioned Artur Davis in his speech yesterday. How odd is it for you to see a guy who was on the other side of the aisle when he was in Congress taking the stage at your convention as a Republican?
Well, it's compelling, but it's not been that. We saw Zell Miller in 2004, which I thought was a terrific convention speech. Obviously we saw Joe Lieberman, not as a Republican, but addressing the convention in 2008, which I thought was an extraordinary moment for a former vice presidential nominee. And I think Artur is, again, in that vein, but he's got a real future ahead of him. I mean, this was sort of the end of Zell Miller's career. You know, he was in his last term and ending that year. You know, look, Joe Lieberman's not a Republican. It wasn't the end of his career, but he had something important to say. But Artur not only, I think, made the case in a way that probably few Republicans could against the administration, and that is making it somebody who had been for it and felt disappointed in the outcome, but he's somebody that I think really does have a future should he choose to do it. So we may be seeing not just a great convention speech, which it surely was, but we may see the launch of a new political career, and I hope we do. Look, I was elected the same year with him. I think very highly of him as a person, and what he did took a lot of courage to do. It really does.
At the same time, party switchers often face some hurdles. They need to convince a whole new party base to trust them. They need to, in Artur Davis's case, if he wants to run for Congress in Virginia, introduce himself to a whole new constituency. You really think that he is going to be a major part of this party going forward?
I think he can be. You know, again, that's up to the people in Virginia and up to him. I don't know what Artur wants to do going forward, but look, you couldn't have a better platform to make a first impression on Republican voters than he got last night. And he not only had the platform, he delivered. So, I think he would actually do quite well going forward in Republican Party politics. You know, I used to tell people when I was in the business of electing candidates, a lot of my best clients were former Democrats. J.C. Watts was a former Democrat. Wes Watkins was a Democrat turned Republican. Ernest Istook had been an appointed official, so there's a lot of these guys that make the switch successfully, and as long as they're consistent with their values and do it in a classy way, there's a future for them. Again, I think Artur's got that kind of future. He clearly has enormous talents. He's an incredibly articulate guy. He's an attractive personality, and he certainly knows how to make his case.
Congressman Cole, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Washington Post for our 5 questions.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Stay tuned to WashingtonPost.com for more.